Yeah, yeah, seriously. To get that all the time running a nursing home, at 2 o'clock, I get a call. I lost a patient. Great. Oh.
All right, I think we're all back on now. And so I'm going to ask for a motion to exit executive session.
I'll move it.
Okay. Tony, do I have a second? Hayes. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. So getting back to our agenda today, as we have on there, our kind of our new, we'll start with treasurer's report first. You guys, Mandy, PA, do you want to walk us through that?
Well, thank you. I've actually got 2 parts, which will be just an update where we are 2022. And then we do have the audit report draft that has been sent out. Hopefully you all received the information that I sent out yesterday afternoon, and I'm just going to kind of go through it as I have in the past, and I'll just hit the important points. Currently, we have 12 loans outstanding. Total principal balance is reflected on the horizontal page. It gives you a list of all of our borrowers as of July 1st. All are paying as agreed. So that is a positive. The last one is the item, and we've spoken of this now for some time, delinquency for DFC distributors. That remains as a delinquent item. And that is something that, again, may require further legal action and consideration. Revenue from the second quarter operations is down just slightly, and that is primarily due to payment success of our borrowers. We had 2 borrowing entities, Repco and the Trolley Museum, at the end of 2021 paid off. And so far in 2022, Robert Iannucci has paid off a significant loan with the KLDC that had been on the books for quite some time. You can see bank balances on my kind of summary page, end of December, end of March, end of June, and July. Bank balances are generally consistent quarter to quarter. There isn't a lot of change there. The income statement that is dated for the 7 months ending July 31st. You will see current month and year to date. Please note, in the year to date, the rental income of $90,000 that has been received. That is from Howmet Aerospace, formerly known as Arconic, formerly known as this, that, and the other. But the current listing is for Howmet Aerospace Carriers LLC. That payment has been received, and that does make up the bulk of our income. There are expenses listed, which again are consistent year to year, with the exception of one, but salaries and wages, various insurances, marketing for the business park, utilities for the business park are up slightly, but again, that is something completely out of our control. Legal and accounting, that is higher than normal, but that does include the new firm who is working and has submitted the draft audit to us. So that's why that figure is a fairly large for the current month and higher than normal as of year to date. At the end of the information just that I had sent out was just a breakout for the business park itself. We try and do this each quarter, but just to show where things are. The income received, $90,000, offset by insurance costs, utility costs, providing a net income for the business park of about $82,500. That does roll up into the Kingston Local Development Corp revenue, and ultimately takes us to a net income figure as of the end of July, a positive $57,000, which is slightly less than where we would normally be in July. But as I said, we've got some increase in utility cost. We also have some increase in the legal and accounting expense costs. But nothing out of the ordinary since we last met. Nothing really unusual outside of the receipt of the rental payment from Howmet in the business park.
Can I ask what the marketing expense is for? Just
That is,
13
that I believe is the bill remaining for, is it Frank and the LoopNet costs and Mandy, what was there was one other in addition to that.
We pay LoopNet, we pay Tri-State,
Right.
and oh, this goes by another name too, because right now they host the domain for
Okay.
our landing page.
So it's not marketing in the truest sense of.
No,
Okay.
it's online publication. It's
Hosting
online presence.
fees and the like. Okay.
It's an online presence, and it may be something that, again, as the board, we move forward, and I know I had mentioned this before, something to consider, are we getting the bang for the buck?
Right.
So I think that's kind of where your question is going, Tony.
BA, is there some rental income? I'm looking at it on my phone, I'm sorry. So is there some rental income we're not receiving or no?
No, we did last year receive a rental from the Trolley Museum, but that has been, that loan was paid off at the end of 2021.
Okay.
So
I
Helmet,
want to see, I'm gonna have to twist my phone around.
I know it's so tiny, Paul. Helmet is the source of rental down there at this point in time.
Okay, thanks. Yeah.
Okay. So that is where, that brings us kind of up to date, end of July, as far as the operations day to day. As I said, it in the material that I kind of scanned out, and I'm sorry if you're looking at it on your phone because the figures are
That was my fault. No.
well, no. You can only make them so big on 6 inches square.
Okay. I make a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks.
Thanks, VA.
Okay, second half. I believe everybody should have received the draft of the KLDC, the financial statement and audit report from the EFPR group. As I said, this is a draft. The process at this point, go through it this morning. There is some language changes in there that Mandy had found after this was received on Saturday. Those are slashed or highlighted. There are some corrections that are printed in the report. Those will be returned back to EFPR to change before we receive the final report. That point, as I said, we'll go through this morning. If it is approved, that'll be communicated back to EFPR with those changes. They in turn will update their records and return a formal report to us, to the KLDC for our records. They'll also then submit the CHAR 500, the filing to the New York State Attorney General's office. They'll also submit our tax filing as required. So that's kind of the process, you know, what'll happen after this. So if I can, the audit report, and I'll just kind of go through page by page. I'm going to just be brief, hitting kind of salient points. Pages 1 and 2 are essentially just an explanation. The audit firm, no different than prior auditors, they use generally accepting auditing standards. It does explain on the first 2.5 pages what they do look at. Most important, they are required to be independent of the KLDC. So it is not like we have in-house auditors doing this, and that states that in their documentation. As I said, page 2 just goes on to detail what the audit group's responsibilities are when reviewing the financial statement. If you move on to page 4, which is the management's discussion analysis, just presents a very broad overview and information on the net position of the Kingston Local Development Corp as of year end. Its net position is essentially the difference between total assets, total liabilities from year to year. And in this case, the net position did decrease. It decreased from year to year by $76,000. The audit report itself and follow-up question to the auditors reference that the reason for the decrease is primarily in additional legal expenses. They're higher this year, and that was directly related to the land acquisition and transfer costs. Those are things that the KLDC had not had previously, but they were reflected in 2021. So that is the big change, and that ultimately does affect net income, net loss for the KLDC. If you look at, for example, page 6, it does provide a overview breakout of operating revenues year to year, operating expenses. Lending expenses is the largest. And as I said, that lending expenses, when we asked the auditors, they responded, operating lending expenses comprise everything that does not go directly into the Kingston Business Park. The reason for the increase is the legal expenses are higher this year due to land acquisition and transfer. So that's the reason why we jumped from 2020 to 2021 year end from roughly 75,000 to roughly 168,000. It was, again, cost associated with the acquisition and transfer of that property. Let's see. You will see the net position change. That is a negative 76,000, and that was caused by that increase in the operating expenses. The overall loss for the Kingston Local Development Corp as of the end of 2021, $82,800. And that was, again, due to that large growth based on legal and accounting expense. There is an add back you'll see roughly in the middle of page 6, net operating revenue interest, which is bank interest paid on deposits, which creates that negative net position change of 76,000. You'll see at the bottom, loans payable. The only remaining item that we do have as an obligation is the final payment to the New York State Department of Transportation. That is $19,661. As we've mentioned before, all of the HUD 108 borrowings, that was paid back to the federal government, and that was approximately $500,000, and that is reflected in the column for 2020. That was paid during the 2020 year. Let's see. Page 7 just gives a little bit more of an additional breakdown of the figures that were reflected on that statement of net position of page 5. If you look at page 8, it is a further breakdown of revenues and expenses. And that was on the figures that you were looking at on page 6. So it does give a little bit more detail. The format of this is a little different than, for example, Hayes, you were there last year as we looked at this, and the mayor and Mandy. The format is just a little bit different because, as you know, Mandy does have to submit all of this information to the ABO in Albany. It is done through software called Paris software, and there's a very specific format, the way that the information has to be inputted into that software. The way the statements were done by this accounting group reflect the format that it has to be submitted to the ABO. So it is a little bit different than maybe what we're used to, but it will be a little more efficient when it is uploaded to the state. So let's see, pages 10 through 15 in the package, they are just the notes and definitions for the financial statements. They just define line items and are generally consistent with notes to the financial statements that we've received from prior auditors over the year. There doesn't appear to be anything in here that is particularly unusual or different than what we have seen in the past. One item that I do want to point out is on page 11, item E. It is just allowance for doubtful loans. We do have to set aside monies for that delinquent loan that we do have outstanding, and that is the $32,009 that is reflected right there. Page 12, it does reference cash and equivalents. It does give you an idea as of December 31st what the bank balance was. Just a reminder that the FDIC does provide insurance up to $250,000 on various bank accounts. Catskill Hudson Bank has secured collateral for any balance amount above that $250,000. And that collateral is held by the bank in the name of the Kingston Local Development Corp. So in a God forbid situation, the dollar amounts on deposit are protected 100%. And that is noted in the audit report itself. Page 13 just provides you with a breakout on the various categories of loans that are outstanding for the Kingston Local Development Corp. It does also mention at the bottom the grant. It mentions it and it's listed as a grant receivable, and that is not quite correct. The language in this is something that we had brought to the attention of the audit group. The way that they typed this out is based on their interpretation of the contract language. So if you read it, it almost appears as if New York State DOT is going to be paying the amount of debt itself. That is not correct. The KLDC does in fact owe the $19,661, and that is the final payment, and that was for the road infrastructure to and in throughout the business park down off Delaware Avenue. So this will square this up. This will satisfy that obligation. So we will no longer have that after probably within the next 30 days. I spoke with Mandy. New York State has not billed the Kingston Local Development Corp yet for that $19,661, but it may be prudent, since we know it is a fixed amount, we know it is the final amount, just to cut a check, send it out, just to get it off our books and done. Let's see, page 14 just gives a breakout as far as assets, hard assets, if you will, which is primarily the Kingston Business Park, value less depreciation, just to give you an idea where it is as of beginning and end of 2021. And then subsequent pages 15 are essentially various accounting standards that are issued but have not yet been implemented. And that's kind of boilerplate language from the accountants. So as I said, let me ask if there are questions. If I'll try and address them at this point. Hayes, yes?
Yeah, to me, when reading the analysis, the discussion, the notes, they seem to have no concerns. I was just gonna ask you if you have any quibble with how they presented anything.
No, as I said, the only thing that Mandy and I struggled with a little bit was because the format is a little different than what we received last year. Beyond that, no. We will receive a final copy. If this is approved at this meeting, that'll be communicated back to the audit group. They will then provide a final copy with their management letter. That may have any suggestions that the audit group would like us to entertain. But as I said, that'll be coming back with the final report at some point in the near future. But Hayes, long-winded to answer your question, no, I think it was very fairly presented, yes.
Is this a new audit group, BA?
Yes, it did. Yes, it is.
So you were pleased, and Mandy, you were pleased with how they interacted with staff? And I know, notwithstanding the comment about how you had to submit stuff, the human interaction part. You're muted again, Mandy. Oh.
Sorry, I keep muting because I hear like an echo, and I didn't know if it was me, so I just put it on mute. Anyhow, yes, I've been extremely pleased with dealing with them. The reason it took so long was because they were waiting for the previous auditors to supply them with information. So that kind of slowed down the process, but they eventually got what they needed. So we eventually got our audit, and after it's approved, or as soon as we get one that's approved, then I can begin uploading to the ABO into Paris, and we'll be able to file our tax returns, which are due within a few weeks.
Yeah, I just want to say, there are no findings in the audit, and I think that a lot of that goes to the work of Mandy. You did a great job, as always, making sure that our bookkeeping and our accounting is spot on, and to be able to also see.
Oh, there we go.
To see that, we just wanted to say thank you.
Yeah, great job.
Good job.
One
You
of,
too,
one of the
BA.
things that.
Just an
one of the things-
FYI, I think I have to jump on my phone because my battery on my computer is just about dead. So if I disappear, I'll be back.
One of the things, just a quick follow-up, and this is a conversation with Mandy, it's my understanding that the EFPR, the group themselves and the folks that were doing the audit have gone back and had looked at the video from our board meetings in 2021, just to kind of review what the conversation was, just so they could get a flavor of how we do operate. They had gone through, Mandy had typed up all of the minutes of each of the meetings. They had reviewed the meeting minutes as well as the video of the presentation. So I think they did a very nice job.
Good.
You know, outside of this report, sorry, you want to finish it?
No, good.
Can we engage somebody to collect this 38,000 that's delinquent to us, or can we not do that, or?
We've received spotty payments during the year. Yes, certainly. Yes, Paul. Yes, we have, George has been working with us as our attorney with the borrower. And as I said, we do receive infrequent payments, small lumps here and there.
Yeah.
Are they still in business?
No,
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
good luck with
it's a
that.
question of just proceeding, going through the court processes. And I suspect trying to collect on a judgment. But as I said, there are infrequent payments that were made, I believe, in 2021. There was just a shade over $5,000 that was paid back.
Better than nothing.
So, yeah, I don't want to say that they're trying, but every now and then things happen.
Okay.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
So one of the signers, one of the borrowers, has already gone through bankruptcy, and the other one is in the process of doing that now. So the chances of you collecting that are
Slow that down. Okay. Do we need to take any action?
Yeah, so I think we'd like a motion to be able to accept or adopt the 2021 annual audit.
Make a motion.
Okay, thank you, Glenn. Do I have a second? BA second. All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Thank you. And I think that wraps up our treasurer's report. I think we have one item on new business, which was to be able to enter into an agreement with the City of Kingston's IT department to be able to migrate into kind of its own domain, kldc-ny.org, to be able to move that webpage from the current private contractor into the actual domain of the KLDC organization, and to be able to create subsequent kind of backup cloud server storage, as well as associated email addresses with that domain, and then to be able to have it all housed in-house within our organization. And so I think Mandy has gotten quotes on that service, through the city's IT department, and we believe at this point it would not exceed $5,000 in an annual year, and at a billable hour type rate that we have set. So if that sounds amenable to the board, I could ask for a motion to approve that.
I'll make a motion.
All right.
I'll
Thank
second.
you, Paul. All right, thank you, Tony. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, great. And I think that was all the new business that we had today. Does anyone have anything else? If not, I want to thank everybody for joining us.
Do the minutes.
No, you did that at the beginning, thank you.
Yeah, so I think that may be all we have for today, but I really appreciate everybody's time this August, and that's it. So if not, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, so thank you, Hayes. Tony second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Take care, folks. Have a great night.
Enjoy the rest of the summer.
No.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So